Welcome back to episode 6 of Harmonies and Hindsights. I've really been enjoying making these videos and just kind of thinking of new things to talk about every week. Last week we had Giselle Schiller on the channel. She's a super close friend of mine. We were roommates for like 2 or 3 years. She's from Brazil, and we talked a little bit about our life being in college and music school during COVID. So you can check out those stories in that episode, last week's upload. This week we're coming back to a little bit more of the harmony side of our Harmonies and Hindsights segment. I was driving in the car today and I kind of thought about this idea because I kind of sort of wish there was videos about this out there or a podcast about this up there. I'm sure there is, obviously. The world is a huge place. This week I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I wish I knew recording music for the first time. Just some things that I feel like I've been better for after learning, and if I was just getting started into it, that I would maybe want to know in terms of the experience and kind of how the whole thing plays out before releasing a song, and really how long that process is. I think maybe to a lot of people it seems fast, like especially nowadays on social media and the internet. You have TikTok and you post a song that you've written and then you get comments about maybe like releasing it, and then there's like this pressure to get a song out because you've built hype around it. But I think a lot of people don't know that songs take, sometimes months depending on the kind of instrumentation and the goal you want to go for. And unless it's kind of a simple like acoustic demo and it's meant to be that way, it can take a really long time to get it done. So I got my fancy sweater on. I wear this sweater all the time when I film covers and stuff. I just feel like it like stands out on camera, and it's like a fun color palette to look at. So anyway, I hope you enjoy my sweater. And today I'm going to tell you about things that I wish I knew at the time when I started recording music. The first thing I wanted to talk about is probably very familiar if you're an artistic person or a creative person in general. Deciding to record a song is committing to a long time of listening to it over and over and over again, and that's especially so if you record your own music and you're kind of stuck with your own ideas a lot and you have to take breaks to come back with new ideas. It's really important to pick a song that you believe in and that you really enjoy, and that I think getting sick of a song is like a huge part of the process. I think if you've chosen a song because you love it and you think it's good and you like the writing on it and you feel proud to release it, you'll at least feel content when you get to those little nuggets of like good production that is built around a song that is already strong in its foundation. There's also the other side of that coin, and just learning like you're probably the only one who's getting really sick of it, because besides people who discover your music and end up being really big fans, you're really the one who's going to be listening to it that much in that much detail. On a first album that I did, I kind of felt like I still love all of the songs because they have sentimental value, and I think that's a whole other part of the argument. But of course there were songs that I wish maybe I had sat on a little longer, ones that maybe lyrically I thought weren't the strongest but fit the project and I wanted to put them out, and I have no regrets about that at all. Yeah, nowadays I kind of really think about the songs that I'm choosing and whether I'm really proud of them, and that I would be happy to work on it for months on end and listen to it and promote it. And so that's something I kind of wish I thought about more at the beginning. Something too maybe I struggle with just in my personal life, but in music, is communicating ideas. I lean on the shyer side when it comes to sharing an opinion, even though it's my song. And I want to preface this video with, I don't often produce stuff on my own. I really like the writing side of it, and I've really geared toward that part of music, and I like working with a good team of people to help with the production side of it. It takes the weight off of my brain because I feel like I'm creative lyrically and maybe with the English language, but I don't feel super creative when it comes to choosing sounds and spending hours finding a plugin that sounds really good. But it's great that there's different creative people out there because you can team up and do a lot of cool things. Communicating was really hard for me in the beginning. There's the part of me that kind of thinks I don't know what I'm talking about. I know a lot about the genre that I'm in, but in terms of production and stuff, I used to feel like I don't know how to describe what I'm hearing and what that looks like, and I don't want to come off, I don't know certain things, and I want to feel like I'm equal with the people in the room. And so I used to have a really hard time describing things. I think with exposure and experience to recording music, you learn more about what parts of the process you give notes about. So for example, a lot of things that were meant for the mixing stage, I would talk about while we're producing, or once the song is like done and it's getting mixed, I'm like, oh, but what about that? We can change that. But that was a production thing that I should have commented on probably weeks ago. I really learned that anything that has to do with a part, notes, the sound of something, especially if it's live, can't be changed. Especially with live instruments, you're going to get the part that you're going to get. And mixing is just, in my perspective, you're balancing all of the sounds together. You can change some plugins, of course, and get a different sound going, but the core production stuff doesn't change. So kind of learning what to say at what stage was really important. I'm still learning what it means to have a good master and what that's supposed to sound like compared to a mix. Of course, people say if you have a good mix, you're bound to have a good master, but I kind of don't know the back ends of that. That's the second thing that I feel like I've learned is how to communicate. And even if you feel like it's like not the smartest way of communicating, even pulling up a reference track, here's what I hear in comparison, or just using like funny adjectives weirdly gets your point across, I feel like, and I've gotten better at communicating what I want and what I hear. Something maybe more specific to the production part of it and being a vocalist if you are. All the things I've learned about tracking vocals. I shamelessly used to be one of those people where I wanted to like be proud that I did the whole song in one take. I've learned, and I'm sure many people have learned, that you don't need to do that. A recorded version of a song is meant to be your best takes and what you did when you had fun with the people you were working with. And it all combines together into one project. But unless it's recorded live, there's no shame in doing things in sections and making sure it's the best that it can be. On that note, though, I still find that it's really important to track in sections. Maybe in pop music, it's much more comped together and you have multiple takes and it's like really down to each word is even structured in a way. But I track a verse 6 times, I track a chorus 10 times, I track the bridge 12 times, I track the outro once, and maybe it was the take I loved. Comping it together like that has been great. And another thing with vocals, I'm sure plenty of people disagree. When I say this, I mean using it very sparingly. I'm very pro Melodyne. What you can't change about a take is the energy and the delivery of it. And if you missed one note, that's why they invented Melodyne. I'm not a huge fan of melodyning every single note. I don't think it's needed. Again, there's specific genres like pop or EDM where having kind of that really on vocal is part of the genre. So I'm kind of excluding that. But in the Americana, like folk country area, I like to hear some mess ups in there. It's all about the energy. I've learned you can't change the energy of a take. It doesn't matter if you're on pitch with every note. If it doesn't feel like your heart was in it, I feel like that almost stands out more. I talked a little bit before about having a good team of people that you trust. Recording vocals is especially so in this case. There's been plenty of times where I've recorded at home and I send these tracks over and I thought they were great. And it takes someone that you trust that is genuinely looking in your best interest to tell you, hey, the energy wasn't there on this track. Can you redo this section because I think you can do better? That section was amazing. Don't change it. It takes a good person who cares about you and the music that their name is also on to tell you those things. The next thing that I've learned recording music is the importance of a reference track. In the scenario like mine, you wrote a song, you had a vision for it, and now you want to record the song and you're excited for how it's going to turn out. You or I maybe have a vision for it, but it's incredibly hard sometimes to give your vision to other people. Everyone's going to see things so differently, and if you've got a vision for something, it's so important to find songs, at least in the same genre, who use maybe the same instrumentation and it's the same kind of dynamic arc of the song to get your point across. I find that the songs that I've recorded that I love the most had great reference tracks, and they sound nothing like it's hard to explain. They sound nothing like the reference track, but to me, I can hear it because the dynamic arc is there and it's the exact kind of phrasing that I was looking for, and it captures the genre that I wanted really well. It's also really important too. Like there was one time I had this guitar sound in my head and it was very muted and palmy. See, that's what I was telling you about, like having strange words. I described it as muted and palmy. And then I pulled up a Bob Dylan song and they were like, I see. Everyone was on the same page. And it was great. So reference tracks are super important. I think it gets your point across when you feel like you can't get your point across sometimes. Another thing that I've learned was how important it is to start simple. Sometimes your team or you are flying with ideas and you just want to like blare everything, write it. You just want to get everything down on the first day. And then by the second day, you're sort of overwhelmed with how much you've recorded or how many ideas you have. And it doesn't seem like it came full circle at all. I've had many many of those experiences. Again, particular to the folk Americana thing and singer-songwriter music, starting simple with just a good foundation of a guitar or piano, whatever instrument, and having a scratched vocal on there is really life-changing, and just taking it one instrument at a time and building. So in a lot of projects I've done, it's guitar, and then you track a scratch vocal, and then we do bass, and then we do drums, and then we add mandolin and banjo on top as the top end of stuff, and kind of the ideas that serve on their own once you have a good foundation with bass and drums and guitar strumming. But yeah, there's been a few songs where it was just throwing ideas at the wall, and sometimes you kept a lot of them, and sometimes you came back the next day and you have no idea what happened, and you completely lost sight of where you thought the song was going, and then you got to start over anyway. So starting simple is really awesome, and making sure you're tracking ideas that you definitely enjoy. This next thing I've learned was probably the most life-changing one, and now I go into every song, and now I go into every recording session with this idea in mind. Actually, my dad told me about it, if my dad's ever listening. He never meant it as like a piece of advice, but it kind of just came, I think, when we were talking about something music related. We were listening to something and he was like, wow, every song, and he said every song has that one section that is somebody's favorite, and it's specific to that section and it doesn't happen again. I call it the ear candy section, and then whenever I'm in a session, I say, where's our ear candy element? Or if we get a line that's really awesome, I'm like, that's the ear candy that people are looking for. I'm sure I got that from somebody else too, so I don't think I came up with that. For me, bridges are a really great time to have ear candy, and my dad is so right, because sometimes I'm in the car and I'll just fast forward to the part that I like, but it's why the song is so good, and I'm happy to even listen to the whole song because I know that this part is coming and I'm excited to hear it, and it's like the special part of the song. So it took a long time for me to learn what it meant to have specific sections and why they stand on their own, and having choruses maybe be the glue of the song and the rest kind of stands on its own. Maybe something small that I've learned that kind of just snuck its way into putting out music and feeling good about the stuff you're putting out. I associate every song with where I was at that time making that song with whoever I was with. Recording music is a whole mountain of climbing to do. It's not cheap. It's a lot of time, and it's a lot of time spent with other people potentially, depending on the way you like to do it. So working with people who are fun and lighthearted is so important. The songs that I look back on the most are the ones where I felt like we had the most fun, and it wasn't so serious all of the time, and we weren't putting pressure to make this great song at all. And a lot of the ideas just came from, oh my God, I loved that. Can you do that again? I feel really grateful to look back fondly on a lot of the stuff that I've been able to record with good memories. And, sometimes your sessions are going to have some bad days where like technology's not on your side and you're all a little frustrated, but, taking a break for lunch and having snacks and just laughing is really a huge part about making a song that you love and that will translate to other people because it just sounded like you had fun. Sort of on the same vein about what I've learned about having good people around you. Another good sign of a friend, producer, individual who is going to help you with your music is when terms and stuff are discussed prior to even starting on something. I think it's a sign of respect to talk about things that maybe aren't super fun to talk about when releasing music, like what your splits are. And I think good people that you work with are super willing to talk about that stuff up front. And the last thing I want to say about whether you're the artist, especially if you're the artist working with someone who is willing to touch your music and be willing to listen to your ideas, is really never saying no. I think it's really normal to get attached to your vision and where you saw or see a song going. And everybody has their pre-recording thing, whether it's like you drink tea before or something. For some reason, my pre-recording thing is in my head, and I tell myself, don't say no today. Let everybody talk, pull your weight, record your tracks, and be really present when people have ideas. And don't say no just because you think it's going to sound bad, because half of my last EP were ideas that I didn't even have. And I had completely different ideas, and now I can't even imagine how that would have turned out if we had gone with my ideas. And it's being willing to know when your idea is not the chosen one because you're bettering the song with someone else's idea. In my experience, most of the time, we end up going with ideas that weren't even mine to begin with. I think I'm going to wrap it up here with this episode with one more thing. I've learned in the past couple months that mixing and mastering is just as important as producing the song. It took me a long time to understand the importance of mixing and mastering. I thought, for a long time you produce the song and that's just the extra part of it that's going to make the song better. But a good mix will make or break a song. Find people that you really trust with mixing. There's so many great websites out there now to find talented people. Of course, there's word of mouth. Reach out to any small artists who would respond to you maybe with who they use for mixing engineers. If you like their music or it's similar to yours, you'll find a lot of great people out there. And I feel like mixing is one of those things that can be done where, a producer or you bounce your stems out, and it's really easy to do not in the same city and just do it all through technology and email. And I guess my last thing I learned is how important mood boards are. Kind of similar to learning how to communicate and how that's been a journey for me. Mood boards have been a really easy way for me to communicate, like an album cover art, color schemes are what I'm looking for when it comes to like the marketing side of music and getting pointers about that. You don't need to be Photoshop Elite Pro athlete. You could get a free version of Canva and make a really great mood board. Maybe this video was helpful. You can catch last week's episode where we talked to Giselle Schiller, and I hope maybe something stood out about this video. I hope so. Even if it's just that you liked my sweater. If you like my sweater, let me know. I don't remember where I got it, but it's been with me since like 7th grade. So it's been here for the long haul, and it will be here in another video, I'm sure. This has been Harmonies and Hindsights, episode 6, and I'll see you guys next week for maybe another interview. I just released a song called The Highway, and it came out about a couple weeks ago, and you can still stream that now, and there's a video coming out, I think maybe by the time this airs, or the week that this airs. I have a little one-shot, one-take video in the mountains, which that could be a funny story to tell. I'm wearing like knee-high boots in the video, and we went on a hike up there to get up there, and I wasn't prepared, and I was sweating. But hopefully in the video you can't tell. Anyway, The Highway is out now. It's a good, fun, folky, country Americana tune. It's about life. So I'll see you next week.